Okay. What's going on here? I got my Fanta. Thanks to Jeff for the Fanta.
No problem.
We are not sponsored by Fanta, but we should be.
Or Canada.
Or Canada Dry.
Or Canada Dry. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Canada Dry.
Dry.
Cheers. Because this is amazing.
And our two guests today are matching somewhat.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah, I guess. We love green here.
All right. Well, welcome to the Good Hombres vlog. Welcome to the Good Hombres podcast. I have my two guests here today. Won't you two guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'll go first. So I'm Jeff, guys. I am a certified and licensed athletic trainer. I've been in AT for about 7 years now. Currently working in a high school and definitely involved in the athletic world and medical world, kind of that bridge in between both. And excited for this today. This is awesome.
Hey, I'm Ibrahim Helm. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist and martial artist for life. I've been in athletics, at least school athletics, for the past 2 to 3 years due to my major now. I'm a master's of science in athletic training as well. So I'm trying to follow in my good friend Jeff's footsteps here and hopefully getting that degree in the next year myself. Awesome. But I've been in athletics in terms of combat sports for the past 20 years, and I've been working with athletes for the past 10. So a little bit of knowledge there. Also, I'm a physical therapy aid supervisor at Joint Motion Physical Therapy as well. So I've been around athletics, I've been around rehab, and I'm happy to talk about any of my knowledge and any of my experiences today as well. So thank you for having me on, Abe.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for joining me, guys. Thank you. Yeah, so and if you guys want to follow these guys on social media, I'm going to put up on the graphic somewhere their social media contacts and whatnot.
Awesome.
So anyway, let's begin. Actually, we had a set of questions that I had proposed to you guys that we had discussed about talking for this podcast. But let's just start with something that we wanted to add today because of the coronavirus situation. We can begin with that because that's something that is going to affect the industries that both you guys are involved in.
Oh, yeah. Medical and athletics really are being hit maybe some of the hardest right now for the coronavirus, and unfortunately.
Especially in the school systems. There's just this air of uncertainty right now that no one knows what to do, and it's confusing and challenging at times just to be able to keep your athletes, focused and motivated.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, unfortunately for me, I'm currently a student right now, so I'm not working hand in hand with the athletes. For now, I'm at my clinical, but unfortunately on my clinical site has now shut down, so I'm unfortunately not even working with them probably for the next month. I think that the earliest we're going to be back in at Muhlenberg University is going to be April, sometime probably towards the end of it actually that month. So unfortunately I'm not at the ground level like Jeff is right now, so you can speak more to how the athletes are handling it more than anything else. But I can tell you that it's definitely scary. It's a scary time period for almost everybody right now. Students, athletes, ATs, the coaches, of course, nursing staff, medical staff as well right now. I mean, everybody's has a whole air of, am I going to get it? What happens when I get it? Am I going to be able to work during this time period? I mean, everybody right now has a level of anxiety right now because of the coronavirus.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff, you mentioned also even at your facility there, they have been, you said you don't even know if you're going to have the shifts that you usually have because they're closing it down, right?
Yeah. So like I said, there's that level of uncertainty, and it's strange because we're going off of the information and we're following what the CDC guidelines are. But because of how new and how strange this is and how it's affecting people, no one really knows what to do. So I normally work a 6-day work week, and I'm uncertain of what I need to be doing tomorrow where I normally work.
Right.
I might not. And then come Monday, like I'm not sure where I'd have to go. And I know for me, that's causing a mental stress. I can only imagine what it's doing because I primarily just work with high school kids. I can only imagine what that's doing to a high school kid's mindset. It definitely has to be something challenging. And that definitely needs to be addressed, and I don't know how much that is being addressed of that side of the world.
So let me
Especially for those high level athletes as well. I'm sorry, Ain. But
no.
especially for those high level athletes that are looking for scholarships and stuff like that.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure that it's
yeah.
huge strain on them though, right now, because they're thinking in their head, hey, did that scout see me? Did they see my best time? I was really looking forward to the spring season to really show it off right now. And
Right.
unfortunately, they're for a lot of spring sports, for a lot of schools, they're probably not going to have that opportunity this time period.
How do you guys feel about the reaction that's been? I mean, none of us here are epidemiologists, but in your opinion, do you think that this reaction that the public is having, that facilities are having, do you think do you think there's an overreaction, perhaps, that things are being closed down and all this panic? Do you think it's justified at the moment?
I think it's justified, but I do have some concerns of how social media, especially for this issue going on, has blown up the situation. Do I think it's a bad illness and epidemic? Yes. Do I think it's something we should be serious about?
Right.
Absolutely. I just don't know why every little detail is being twisted and everything on social media when the experts aren't 100% of what's going on. But then you look on social media and there's 1,000 new, keyboard experts that are
keyboard warriors.
That are saying, "Oh, this is what it is." But if
everyone's a doctor, on Facebook.
If the CDC doesn't know everything, and the people that are tasked to just focus on this, if they're unsure, how are all these people that don't know anything? I'm not saying that they don't know anything; they probably do, but how are they able to talk on things? And I can see why the panic maybe got a little bit bigger because of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So media and social media, actually, for that matter, probably was a big factor of how people kind of took all of this. Because if you look back on, say, like SARS, what was it, 10 years ago that SARS was a really big deal and could have potentially been a huge pandemic as well, people just didn't react the same way. I mean, we were like, oh, yeah, SARS. Yeah, I guess.
I think
it's on the other side of the world. We don't have to worry.
Exactly. But I think that this strain of this disease definitely came about very, very quickly. It hit very, very hard, and unfortunately, we didn't necessarily know all the information is when it did hit as hard as it did. But also, the fact that there's no real vaccination for it just yet is really the main fear for most people right now. It's like, oh, I got it. What do I do? Sit home, make sure you drink your fluids as best as you can, and make sure that you try to stay as healthy as you can.
And I'm sure there's definitely a fear of, what if I get somebody else sick?
Yes, there's a gigantic fear. Well, I can speak for myself. I was supposed to be in a kickboxing match at the end of the month right now.
I remember, we're all going to go to a fight.
I don't know if they're going to cancel the event or anything like that, and that's completely up to Waco and USCA's to actually say that they're ending the event. But I will say for myself, my cornerman, he's over the age of 60.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
And I have family members that are over the age of 60 as well. And I know that they're some of the highest populations to actually get hit the hardest by this disease right now. And I'm working full time. I'm a student right now. It's risky enough just to get into a fight right now. I don't know if it's necessarily risky enough to go into a fight and then get hit with a disease that I'm not going to have necessarily a cure for another 2 weeks afterwards. I don't think that's a good idea. So that's why I opted to respectfully just step out of that event. I hope that I can get on another Waco event a little bit later on this year, of course. But just for the time being, I have to take a step back from that and just say, hey, what's the best thing for my family, for my friends, and anybody that I care about during that time period right now. So, I mean, yes, it's absolutely playing on people's minds right now. It's like, can I get sick? What happens if I get sick? What's going to happen to my job? What's going to happen to my family if I get sick?
All the uncertainties that are happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, speaking for myself, is if I got sick with this, I would feel horrible, but I would feel worse if I gave somebody this.
Right.
Absolutely.
An older relative, somebody
Yeah,
who
that-
is
I
going to
feel
have higher complications, major
Absolutely.
complications if they contact
Yeah,
the
where
disease. Yeah.
in my mind, that would make me feel worse than actually
Having it.
having it. Like,
Yeah.
you
Because
can-
you know you're young and you're healthy.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully you're going to get better. Your likelihood of getting
Exactly.
better is, 99% or whatever it is.
But I would feel miserable if, my parents or a neighbor
Yeah.
or somebody I have some contact with would get it just because of me not knowing.
Right.
And that's my worst fear about this. And it's probably a big fear for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're even talking about. They're talking about closing gyms down because they said gyms are one of the biggest conduits for this disease because, you're touching stuff and, you're touching the weights and
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing about the coronavirus as well. Is it really tactile things that are really going to spread it? And I don't know if the research is actually saying if I touch somebody, is that going to give off the disease, or is it more of that airborne? If I'm coughing and what have you, that's actually going to set off that disease and be a more of a conduit for people to get sick. So there's also a whole big thing of, is it touching? Is it just being around somebody? It's not really determined whether or not this is the right path of, do I protect myself from this? And obviously, make sure you wash your hands, people. Make sure that you're using Purell. Be clean as best you can. It's the 21st century.
Should wash your hands.
Right. But at the same token, just make sure that you take care and give obviously a good amount of space between one person to another person. But I don't know if actually just going to the gym, touching an equipment that another person touched is actually going to give you that disease now.
I mean, from my limited understanding of the disease itself, it's spread through droplets. So
that's what I
coughing,
that's what I've heard as
sneezing,
well.
and so the virus, from the little that they do know, it lives for 2 to 6 hours. So let's say you sneezed, and that little droplet drops on a weight, and you have the virus. It'll stay on there for 2 to 6 hours, and if somebody else touches it and then touches their mouth, touches their nose, touches their eyes, that's how the virus can basically get into your body. But no, absolutely. I think the uncertainty, is what makes a lot of people panic. And I think we were talking about earlier before we started the podcast, is a lot of it is the social media, the hype and the sensationalism that happens in journalism.
Yeah.
And I did a vlog earlier in Times Square, and I was saying, what's going to get people to click on something? Is it going to be, there's reports that it could crystallize your lungs and you'll never recover from it. Like, what's more, would you click on that, or would you click on just wash your hands, have good hygiene? Like, people are going to click on, oh my God, my lungs are going to crystallize. I'm never going to recover. I'm going to lose 40% of my lung function. Like, people will click on that because people are scared. They want to,
and people that want to get likes and are
are
looking
goodness.
for that.
Yeah,
It's true.
They're going to
Attention.
make those.
They're gonna make those,
They're going to
yeah.
have no actual medical backing, but they're going to be able to scare people. And and at the end of the day, scaring people is, I feel like, just as bad as how bad this virus is. Like, it causes.
but that's what gets people to
confusion.
read. That's what gets the advertising money.
I agree with you.
And it's very unfortunate. And that's the one thing I wanted to put out there also, is that we have all these articles are being written, and if you think about it, you have to look at who's writing it, who's actually writing it.
Exactly.
So epidemiology, right? The study of disease. You have epidemiologists that are the experts on this. People who work for the CDC, people who work for WHO, and that's the people that I think we should look to, because this is their passion, this is their life's work. And I don't understand why people will read an article from a journalist and take their opinion as if it's when you know that they have an agenda.
Absolutely.
And to me, it's like, let's listen to the experts, and
Yeah.
I think if we do that, I think we'll head in the right direction.
Absolutely. And
Hopefully, yeah.
the population I work with is mainly high school kids, and like I said before, you have these keyboard experts, and you talk to a high school kid that they get all their information pretty much from either
Social media.
social media like Twitter, TikTok now too, which apparently is the biggest thing in the world. I still don't really understand it.
I don't understand either. It's like the sequel to Snapchat.
Yeah.
Or the Vine.
Or the Vine.
Yeah.
But I have athletes that walk into my athletic training room. They're like, Mr. Senna, did you read about this? We're all going to get, if you get the virus, you're going to be dead. And I'm like, what? No, no, you're not. Like, you're a healthy.
Honestly, that is one of the best things about being an athletic trainer, though, is that you can be the beacon of knowledge for people that just don't understand things.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the best parts of the job of being of an athletic trainer, and probably one of the hardest parts of the job as well, because you don't have to just educate just the students themselves or the athletes themselves, but you'll also have to educate the coaches, the parents, the
relatives,
the athletic directors, even sometimes, depending on where you're working, what have you, and just what knowledge that they have during that time period.
Absolutely.
It's your job to be the bridge between that some level of ignorance and make sure that you're getting the proper knowledge to actually tell them, hey, listen, yes, this is a bad disease right now, but at the same token, these are the ways to mitigate it. It's not as scary as you think it is, hopefully. And hopefully in the next month or so, we'll be able to at least say we have this available.
Yeah,
so
maybe
God willing,
plan of care of something
Yes.
in the next month.
and God willing, hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe even a vaccine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me end this topic on this. So what do you guys think needs to happen to move forward? Because obviously the world has to function. Everybody still has to go to work, and so
that's the biggest question.
that's the
isn't it?
question. That's the
For
$1 billion
everyone right
question.
now.
How do
What do
you
we
still
do?
function?
Yeah,
How do we function?
So, like I said, it's literally every single market in I think in the USA, at least in New Jersey and New York, is being hit right now. Whether it be restaurants, athletics, retail,
tourism,
entertainment,
medical,
everything's being hit right
everything
now.
is being hit.
But to a certain degree, because of the fact that everyone's getting sick, and nobody knew at least at the beginning how long it took for this disease to actually stay outside of the body, and then how long did it wait for it to actually manifest into symptoms for people as well. It's going to take most likely a much longer time than everybody's expecting.
I agree.
For it to at least die down. And in terms of getting everything back on track, I think that the schools have a good idea, but unfortunately, kids aren't getting hit that hard with it right now.
No, it's actually that's what the studies are showing. The kids carry it, but they don't.
I feel
get sick from
the
it.
teachers.
Yeah.
It's the teachers that are getting infected. The older guys like us.
And honestly, nurses and doctors as well.
Yeah,
They're
the
getting
front lines,
exposed to it right
of course.
now. Excuse me. And you guys are just getting hit probably the hardest out of any population right now, because you're right there in the thick of it right now, unfortunately. But it's hard to actually say that this is how long can we actually stop everything and sustain everything based off of that.
And I don't feel like that's even possible with some professions.
Yes.
You can't just do a full shutdown.
Shutdown, yeah. It's like people need to go to work. Bills need to be paid. And it's gonna be very difficult. I would say I don't even know what the answer is. I don't
care about viruses.
Well, yes. I know that. Is it true? And I might just be basing all this of what I've heard from some people, but that they're talking about passing legislation at least to maybe have like paid time off for maybe like 2 weeks or what have you.
I heard a little bit. I don't know.
Well, Donald Trump had proposed. He had proposed basically a payroll tax, that he would cut the payroll tax.
Okay.
So give all people, middle class people extra income, because we are getting, people get laid off or have to take time off from work.
Absolutely.
And things like that. And so
at least for this time period.
For this time period, I think one month that was proposed was up until November election time, which is a very political.
Of course.
They don't want to make it political, but
it's inevitable, and it's unfortunate. It's inevitably going to become political. It already is political at this point, and I think that is also plays into the issue, because what ends up happening is that you have people on two extremes. You have people that are just like, it's nothing, it's just the flu, and you have people that are like, bunkering and thinking it's going to be the zombie apocalypse tomorrow. Taking toilet paper.
I don't understand that, guys. I don't get
so
it.
you have two extremes, and it's just like, let's just cut. Like, I wish people would come to the middle and say, let's get the information from the professionals. Let's listen to what the experts are saying, and not sensationalize this, not profit off of this.
That's definitely the best policy for all of this situation, because I think that you're right. There is a level of hysteria right now, and then there's a level of people who don't care about it because of that hysteria, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of factor
just
in
wanna be
between.
obstinate.
Exactly. And that, but I really do believe that the truth is somewhere in the middle. So I think that you do need to care. It's just don't go overboard.
Don't go overboard. Yeah.
And I completely agree with you guys.
I-
Why the heck?
I'm glad we're all in agreement on this.
Why is everybody going out to get toilet paper?
Why?
right
Yeah, I
now?
don't
Like,
understand. You guys know why? Can you guys answer that question?
I don't know.
What's up with the toilet
I
paper?
know. I understand making sure that you have enough toilet paper to last you 2 weeks, but
Like-
God,
Is it going to be like you're just going to randomly just start TPing people's houses? Like, oh, they're infected. Throw it up. Like, that's our new sign. If you're infected, we're just going to TP
No,
your
they're
house.
just gonna wrap it around their face.
Now we know what's the first thing that's
Yeah.
gonna get sold out. It's toilet paper.
It's
If it's the end of the
Zombie
world,
apocalypse.
Toilet paper's going number one.
oh boy. Okay, so I guess that's a good conclusion to our topic. Is that everybody just try to be reasonable. Everyone, try our best to stay calm and
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
wash your hands.
Wash your hands.